Welcome to the 208. Welcome back. July 2nd. We are live and it is football talk. We're ready to roll. We have NFL West breakdown. We've got our bargain bag players and a whole lot of news, or really lack thereof. Starts right now. Love that intro.
Yeah,
Gentlemen,
solid.
Justin, Chance, how we doing?
Good.
Good. Just been painting all day, so glad to talk about football for the next hour or so.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. I can live with that. Football. Let's get a little background music on. Right out of the gate, let's we don't have a whole lot of it. Let's break down a little news.
What's going on?
Chance.
Yeah, just a little news. Brandon Ayuk came out and said that actually he think he'd love to stay with the Niners. So I think we're going to get a lot of clarification here coming up on this whole Ayuk thing. It's kind of the center of the news right now. So he said he for sure wants to stay with the San Francisco 49ers this year for Adam Schefter. So
yeah, not going to get paid, so I better stay.
Yeah. Other than that, we didn't touch on this last week, but CeeDee Lamb said he's going to hold out unless he's paid unless he's at least the second highest paid wide receiver in the league. So there's a little CeeDee drama too. All these dramatic wide receivers, man.
They're prima donna wide receivers. It's always been that way.
Yeah, Matt knows all about prima donna wide receivers, right? Is your boy a prima donna? He plays wide receiver.
Yeah, he does. He's a wide receiver in college. No, he's not that much. He's pretty much a team player, but nice. He's not making $50 million a year either. So if he's making $50 million a year, I might be a prima donna too.
I love that.
So fun. Let's get into. That's it for the news. There's just not much. We're going to see a whole lot more coming up.
Just so everyone knows, tonight's the premiere of of Hard Knocks off season with the Giants. So if you like to consume all your football content, go watch that. I know I'm going to turn it on as soon as we're done with this.
Yeah, that's always fun. Hard Knocks, they do a good job with that stuff. I like watching it too. All right, we're going to jump into our kind of a next segment here. It's kind of new, but we're literally our bargain bag players. So what does that mean, bargain bag? It just means we think these three players are way too low and in their ADP right now, and you can get them as a steal, in our opinion. Now, we've each selected one, and we have not told each other who it is yet, and so we're going to debate this a little bit, so it should be fun. Justin, let's start off with you. Who is your bargain bag player?
Awesome. So we have talked previously about this guys in our division breakdowns, and the more and more I see these redrafts going, and you get a little bit better, a full picture of where these guys are going and whatnot, and just looking through all the running backs and wide receivers, like this guy's name just stood out to me. I think he's a starting running back. Their starting running back tore his ACL, his meniscus, and his MCL. Required 2 different surgeries, so that's a big red flag to me. And I am talking about Jerome Ford, Cleveland Browns starting running back, in my opinion. So Nick Chubb went down in week 2, tore his knee, tore his ACL, blew it all out, terrible injury. They did restructure his contract, so it is a lot less money. It is the same exact knee he did in college when he was about 20. So Nick Chubb is 28 right now, going on 29. And if you guys have heard any of the off-season interviews or reports, like he's been real non-descriptive of when he's going to come back. So that makes me a little hesitant. Usually guys are, well, I'm way ahead of schedule, all this stuff. So that is a little concerning for me. He did get his second surgery in November, which puts him about 9 months out since September, which I just don't know if he's coming back that early, especially that offense. With the Browns, Ken Dorsey comes over from the Bills. He got fired, but he comes over from them as the OC. When Ford was the starting running back, he actually did do a lot of pass catching. So he had 44 catches for 319 yards and 5 touchdowns when he was predominantly the starting running back, which is a good little chunk when he started to take over for week 3. He kind of split with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt ended up having 352 total snaps to Jerome Ford's 644. And then out of the 12 formations they use, Jerome Ford was actually the predominant touch leader in 5 of those. So Jerome Ford is a starting running back going at 119. He's a running back 39, so that puts him right around rounds 9 and 10. So realistically, you can probably get your third RB, or if you're doing a 0 RB or a hero RB, like he could be a really, really good RB2 that should get a ton of work, as well as the Cleveland Browns probably still have a top 5 O-line. And the price that you can get him if it stays here when we get to August, I just love his price point. Like, he is such a good fit. He's still 24. He's big. He's about 5'11", 215 as well. Like, there's just a lot of pluses with this guy that I'm really excited about. One other tidbit is they did sign Deontay Foreman. They have Nyheim Hines. Hines is also coming back from an ACL injury. So he tore his ACL in July of last year. So he's about 12 months out of that. But still, there's 2 of the 4 running backs in that backfield have torn ACLs that they're trying to cut back. So I think they're going to rely pretty heavily on Jerome Ford.
I was going to beat you up on this one, and I can't. Other than he's on the Browns, I guess, but their line's solid, right? But they're going to utilize them. There's no way the other running backs are ready. I just don't see it. He's going to be their guy, and last year he ran hard, right? He looked good, so I like it. I think it's a really good steal. It's a great bargain.
And Matt, as a Bears fan, like, you've seen Foreman a couple of times. It feels like he has like 2 really good games and then is forgotten forever. So like, I'm not super scared of him. And the other 2 running backs, like you said, like they're coming back from injury, which is tough.
If the Bears thought he was good, they would have kept him.
Exactly.
And they didn't. So
exactly.
Yeah. Did you guys see the workout footage from oh my gosh, I can't even believe Nick Chubb. Did you see Nick? Yeah, thanks. Did you see Nick Chubb's workout footage? It just came out of him jumping laterally, and he's in the gym, man. He's looking good. I love your Jerome Ford take. I think he's a great pick. I think he is going to start the season really well. But I still think that Chubb's going to come back. I think by week 5, Chubb's going to be back in that backfield.
It's possible. I just don't. Here's the thing about ACL. He's jumping and cutting. There's nobody around him.
Yeah.
There's no defensive players around him, and there's definitely a psychological thing with that needs to come around. Now, however, what Justin's trying to say, this bargain. So let's say Ford does do really well, and you got him here, and Chubb does come back. You still end up with really good trade value, right?
Oh yeah.
So
sure.
I like that, which is going to come up to mine here in a second, but. That's a really good one, Justin.
To go off Chance's point as well, like Nick Chubb is going a full round ahead of Ford as well. So that's a crazy thing.
That is crazy.
He's going a full round ahead of him. So,
Chance, I'm curious to see who is your bargain bag player.
Okay, so my bargain bag player is a little bougie. Okay, so I think he's a bargain, but he's a little bougie. He's not a low round guy. My bargain bag player is DK Metcalf, right? DK Metcalf currently on Fantasy Pros is going at wide receiver 22 and is overall at 41. You get 4th round, which maybe doesn't seem like a bargain, but if you look at the players around him, I just think that Ryan Grubb coming over from Washington ran a ton of 3 wide receiver sets, and all the wide receivers ate in that offense. And the wide receiver that ate the most was their big wide receiver, Rome Odunze. Had 1,600 yards last year in Ryan Grubb's offense. And he's bringing that over to a really good 3 wide receiver triplet in DK and JSN and Tyler Lockett. And I think JSN's a great wide receiver, but I don't think he's going to threaten DK for that role. Seems like he's being groomed to take over Tyler Lockett's role. And I just think that with Ryan Grubb there, DK has every opportunity to finish as a top 10, a top 5 wide receiver on the season. And in the 4th round, if you go running back, and you can end up with DK as your wide receiver 2 or your wide receiver 1 if you go RB heavy. I think he is an absolute steal there to be your second wide receiver, your first wide receiver off the board. If I come away from drafts with him there, I mean, outside of his rookie season, he's never finished below wide receiver 18. So even at 22, that's lower than he's ever finished at the position in his career. And that's with some down years that we would say. So to me, and that's in half PPR, to me, I just think that the value you're getting, DK is still a stud. He's still that same guy that, you know, had that awesome combine. Everyone fell in love with him. And he came into the league with his stupid, binky mouth guard, and he was kind of a diva. But he's been that guy. And I think in the 4th round, you could absolutely get a wide receiver that has all the upside in the world to finish as a wide receiver 1, a top 12 wide receiver.
You can't go wrong with DK, in my opinion. I think it fits that offense very, very well. I'm a JSN truther a little bit too. I'd love to see him get his this year, but DK is just different. Yeah. And at that value, I agree with you. You're not going to go wrong taking DK, especially at that value.
Matt loves the young guys. So two things, devil advocate wise. I traded away DK this offseason, but I got AJ. I was really happy about it. So the biggest thing with DK is, do you trust Geno Smith enough to make that offense be great, like my boy Michael Penix did? And like his target to reception is just weird. So he had 119 targets, but only caught 66 balls. So that it's just weird. He caught half his targets. Mm-hmm. Like that just seems kind of like a really weird outlier. Is that catchable balls? Is that drops? Like what is your feeling on that?
Well, first I'll go with your Geno Smith, slander, which I'm okay with, man. I don't like Geno Smith. I think that he has benefited from coaching immensely. But even if Geno Smith doesn't pan out, the Seahawks went and got the Washington quarterback, Sam Howell. And Sam Howell, he reminds me a lot of Will Levis, man. He likes to just throw the ball. His game would fit perfectly with what DK is, which is that deep threat end zone player. So if they transition at some point from Geno to Sam Howell, I think DK suffers the least from that transition if it were to happen. And I know you're all about Michael Penix. He's your guy. He's your 2027 Falcons starter
on that taxi squad for a long time.
Right. Yeah, baby. But I also think you look at a bunch of the drops that DK had, a lot of them were back of the end zone targets that he missed out of the back of the end zone or dropped contested in the end zone. So a lot of those targets that he had that he didn't end up coming down with were contested red zone targets. And I think you see that switch, regress back to the mean. I think you're looking at somebody who is scoring double-digit touchdowns in a way that he did when he finished wide receiver 6 on the year. Now that was back in 2020, but still, I mean, he's got all the upside for that. Yeah, he had 8 touchdowns last year, and I don't have the numbers of his his red zone targets in front of me, but if you can get him back into double-digit touchdowns, I think he's gonna, like I said, has all the upside for a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he's as a top 5 to 8, 4 to 8 receiver. Can you get him that
high? I think you can. I think it's totally a doable thing. I mean, 20 red zone targets that he had last year, and he only comes away with 8 touchdowns. I think that's a thing that he can regress back to the mean with those. So, and he was only 7 for 20 on red zone targets, 6 touchdowns there. But like I said, I really think that if he can really target it, hone in on those catches in the red zone and in the end zone, he has 100% top 8 potential. And to get him in the 4th round, he doesn't have to be your wide receiver 1. Like, he does not have to be the wide receiver 1 on your team. He can be your wide receiver 2. So to me, I'll take that value all day.
If you go hero RB, right, that's not bad. So let's say you get, I don't know, Bijan in the first round, they'll go wide receiver, and he ends up being your third wide receiver. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty solid. So go get him, DK.
All right,
go get him. We love him. All right, so you guys are gonna laugh at me a little bit. I went deep into the well. This guy was an absolute bust last year. Their team let him go. He's going to an up and coming team. He's absolutely going to be the veteran guy here.
I'm excited for this.
He is wicked late. You're talking 10, 11th round, and he could be the starting running back for them.
Oh no.
I don't
He's
know.
going to be, he's 29 years old, and you guys don't laugh. He is, it's Austin Eckler.
Oh.
No!
It is Austin Eckler.
No, man. You built it so good that you put his name in. No.
It is hard to sell it. It's hard to do it. But here's the thing. This is why I like it is a bargain. He's not going to be your number 1 or number 2. But if he's going to be the starting running back and he can stay somewhat healthy through on that team that should be in high-powered offense, why not? Why not? There's a couple things I can see him being valued at. If he is taking off early, and if you see his workout videos, you're like, dude, I think this guy's still got it. He's getting beat up on a horrible team last year. He tried to do everything. He was terrible.
That viral video of him like
Oh
taking
my
that
gosh.
Yes.
play where he
Dude, he was
Off-season
so
hype
slow.
is wild.
It's crazy. But I am curious to see what he does. I am willing to take a flyer in the 10th, 11th round on him, being the starting running back for a team that I'm just curious. He'll get some check downs, and if he does well early on, he's definitely trade bait, and he didn't cost me anything.
He has so much name value if he does well.
Yep.
If he does well, people won leagues with him for years.
Yes. And you're like, oh, maybe he's got one more in him. Now, it's hard because he's at the 29, 28, but again, I'm not going to fault him last year. I think he had 180 carries, something like that, for 600 yards. It's only like 3.5 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns. He still had 74 targets, but that offense was so bad last year. Just horrible. They couldn't even get first downs. So
and he's going to such a better team.
Way better. He is way better. This is going to be a team. Team's going to be. Here's the thing about Washington. I like it's the OC. Cliff Kingsbury is going to. Yeah. I like that offensive scheme, so I think they'll utilize him. So I knew you guys were going to make fun of me, but I wanted to throw it out there.
Dude, I love it. You go.
I think we got to roll with it. I'm going to go get him. I'm reaching deep into that bag, and it might be a turd, but I might pull out a nugget too. So who knows?
2 questions. Does Brian Robinson scare you at all? And can you name any of the starting offensive linemen on this team?
Not really, because I don't think if they like Brian Robinson that much, they wouldn't have got Eckler. So it's going to be a committee for sure. And I guess my next question is, tell me the offensive starting line for the Chargers last year.
They had Slater, but he was hurt.
Exactly. So I think it's kind of going, but it's the OC's better. I really like the OC. They'll find ways.
Ooh, Kellen Moore shot there.
I have learned for sure, if you're going to talk any fantasy with Lineberry, you better know the offensive line of whatever team you're talking about, because he'll quiz you on it.
Yeah, they don't have much of an offensive. They didn't pour a bunch of money into the offensive line, but it's a start. So again, this is a deep bargain player. You're talking 10, 11, maybe even 12th round. It's not. It's just you're throwing a dart, and I'm just looking. It's like, hey, something could happen.
I don't hate it. I'm with you.
I love the bull thing. I'm all about it.
Perfect.
I've been trying to get B-Rob in a couple of leagues, but
yeah, and that's not a bad pick either. I'm not sure where he's even going. I'd have to look.
Who did you say?
Actually,
Brian Robinson, the other B Robinson.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I don't know where he might even be going ahead of Eckler. No, I don't think I think he's going behind him. Anyway, I digress. Moving on to the next segment. We're going to jump right into our meat and potatoes of the show. We spent a lot of time on that, a lot of fun with our bargain bags, but we're going to jump right into our AFC West breakdown. And we did the breakdown yesterday. Meat and potatoes. we're going to get right into it. So we're going to start off with the Raiders. So again, this is very similar to what we did a couple of days ago. This is what we believe is the projected starters, according to ESPN and their nonsense. The rank is in the green. The average draft position is in the red. And for those of you that are listening, we'll certainly go through these. So Las Vegas Raiders, Justin, tell us what you know about them, what they got cooking, what's not cooking.
All right. So 27th in total offense, 23rd in passing offense, 30th in rushing offense, and then 23rd in scoring. They're 55 pass to 44 run. They will run a heavy wide zone scheme, so that just means athletic linemen not pulling, but reaching to the left, and then that running back has to pick a spot and go. So they're going to count on Zamir White to hopefully read that correctly. Getsy so that's their OC. He was with the Bears, so Matt probably has a lot more information offensive-wise, what he likes to run. So he's with the Bears with Fields the past 2 years. In the past 2 years, they were top 2 in rushing. I know Matt's shaking his head, but they were top 2 in rushing both years, mainly because Justin Fields likes to run the ball. But the same situation, is their quarterback going to be good enough to pass the ball? Aiden O'Connell to Justin Fields. I don't know who passes the ball better, I'll be honest. O-line is not great. Like, they have Colt Miller. That's about it, to be honest. Jackson Powers Johnson, who's from Oregon. I think he's a good addition. He's going to play guard. He played center in college. So transition-wise, I don't know how that will work out. And then skill-wise, I just don't know if they will get enough looks. I think that's my biggest scare point of why I don't love anybody in this offense.
Yeah, let's roll down these a little bit. So you talked about Aiden O'Connell. Right now is ranked 35 and his ADP is 217. I don't know of anybody who's drafting him. If you're in a single QB league, it probably nobody. Superflex, maybe even doubtful. They did pick up Gardner Minshew back there. It would not surprise me if O'Connell.
Minshew's the truth. I think Minshew takes this back. He takes his QB job. That's my bold take on the Raiders.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, all it takes is Devontae Adams going, I'm not getting the ball.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Gardner Minshew's out there. So it takes on O'Connell, Justin.
Yeah, I'm not touching him. He's probably on your waivers. Nah. No, thank you.
Agreed. Moving to running back, Zamir White, and I put Alexander Madison on there, and we'll talk about him in a second. So Zamir White ranked 22, 76 overall. I do like him. I'm pretty high on him. I think at 76 is a bargain. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot in my mind. But Chance, your thoughts on Zamir?
Yeah, I'm a big Zamir White fan. I mean, I think that he's a guy that if I go here RB, I'm super glad to pick him up as my RB2 later on. I mean, last year in half-point PPR from weeks 15 through 18, he finished with 16 fantasy points, 14.5, 13, and 12. I mean, super consistent. He had 200-yard games in that span. He was crushing it with touchdowns. Like, once Josh Jacobs went out, Zamir White picked up right where he left off. The coaching staff has been super high on him. He was good at Georgia. I mean, he was a good back at Georgia. He was a 5-star recruit, and he's absolutely he's just bided his time. And if you've seen pictures of him, the dude's huge. He's a monster of a man. So I think for where he is, he could be a league winner just because of the what they're going to do funneling him the ball. And kind of the opposite of what Lineberry said, where Lineberry says, I don't see how they get the ball around so much. What I like about the Raiders is they don't have this embarrassment of riches in their playmakers. So who's going to get the ball. They're going to target Adams. They're going to feed their running back, which to me is Zamir White to start. And they're going to get the ball to their tight end. Like it's not like you have to guess week to week who's going to be getting the ball. Where it's going to go if they want to win, which makes it a little easier. It makes it nicer for them as a team when I'm drafting their players.
No, agreed. Justin?
Okay, so just to kind of put a crazy stat, so I have my big Google Sheets thing with formation wise and like the touch leader and the target leader. So Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams are the leaders in each of those categories, except for one. So there's 28 total because there's 14 formations. So there's two. So there's a target leader and a touch leader. So it's their running back one or their wide receiver one. So that tells me a lot. Like Zamir White, I don't know how talented he is. He is a volume play though. I think there's no question he touches the ball 350 times. It scares me a little bit because he feels like Alexander Madison last year, where you're like, man, he's gonna get a ton of touches, and like it just didn't hit right. So that I think that's my biggest like drawback with this specific backfield. Like, are they just gonna play like 10 guys in the box and say, hey, we're gonna bracket Devontae with our safety, and then Zamir White, let's see what you can do. So I think that's my biggest thing. Like, I'm not a big Zamir White guy. I'm not big on this offense at all. So.
No, agreed. And we're going to talk more about these other players. Zeus will get his for sure. He's going to get. I'm trying to think how many carries he had the last year. Like he had 104 or something like that last year, maybe a touch more. So I mean, he's going to get his workload. He's going to get the volume. But the reason why we'll move on to Alexander Madison. Madison was one of the best backup running backs in the NFL for a long, long time. Does he still have it? He wasn't a starter, but I think he's still a good backup running back. So there's nobody else behind there. So if Zamir does get injured, Madison might be the guy. We'll see what their formation does. But moving on to wide receiver, we have Myers and Adams. There's really not much of a third there because I think of Bowers, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But your take on this passing attack from the Raiders? Do you like? Let's start with Devontae Adams. Do you like Devontae Adams, who's 12 or 12 ranked and 16th overall?
That seems a little rich for me with Devontae Adams. Like again, like I said with Aiden O'Connell, and I think Matt can attest to this. Like I don't know how good Gansky is at drawing up passing plays. I don't have a lot of faith in him to make Austin O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. Like if Gardner Minshew's in that offense, I think it gives it a little bit more juice where he'll just sling the ball around because I think he is a better passer than Aiden O'Connell and a bigger gambler. And I think Devontae Adams might have that voice of that offense that get me the ball at least 15 times a game. Where again, it's a volume play, but that volume might be bad. So like at 16, that's round 2, like middle of round 2. That's a tough sell for me. And Jacoby Meyer, like again, target wise, I just don't know if he's going to get enough.
Chance?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see if Devontae still has it. I mean, I think that I think he probably still does. I think he did a great job last year in that system with a quarterback that was pretty mediocre. And so for me, if Devontae Adams were to fall to me and be my wide receiver 1, I wouldn't be mad about it. Let's see, where did he finish last year? Last year he finished as the wide receiver 11 with 175 targets, 103 receptions. Like he still ate with Aiden O'Connell there last year. And at 31 years old, I don't think he is. I mean, he's right there on that age cliff, but receivers always last a little longer than running backs do.
He's got to get straight to the Titans first before he falls off that cliff.
That's true. That's true. He's not on the Titans, so he's still got some juice in it.
I think the challenge is they're both volume. Myers had 101 targets last year, so you're talking nearly 300 targets just in that passing. Tight ends didn't get much because it was hold on a second. Michael Meyer, right? He really didn't factor like we thought he did. He only had 40 targets, so it was just those three. And they were in game. I think they won a few games, and there was a lot of garbage time. But Bowers is interesting, right? Bowers coming out of Georgia, who everybody talks about what he did as a freshman and how he was an impact right away. So the question is, and I'm going to jump to Bowers on this real quick here, is he's ranked number 12th tight end overall as a rookie, 107th overall. will he be that guy who has immediate impact in this offense? If so, somebody's targets are going to come down, right?
Mhm.
Part of me thinks that they're going to do a 2 tight end set, and Justin, I'm kind of leaning on you on this. I think Myers will still get playing time, but Bowers might be that kind of like the Bills from the Bills. Kincaid. He might fill that Kincaid role, right?
Exactly.
So he's going to get some targets too. I just don't know. I don't really trust the OC here, but thoughts on Bowers? What are your 107? So you're talking round 8, 9.
So Matt, to go off your point, so their starting slot is Trey Tucker. I'll be honest, I don't know who that is. They have Michael Gallup too. So my thoughts is like they did run a lot of 11 personnel. They ran 11 personnel 58% of the time. It's a little bit different with Chicago. I think they'll run 11 personnel, but it will be 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. But I think Bowers will just play slot a lot, and they will just use those 2 tight ends to help with the run game, as well as to come off passing with it. I think that's what they'll do. That seems like the most smart thing to do. It felt like when the Raiders did pick Bowers, it was a little bit of a panic. They thought a quarterback was going to be there. That's just my thoughts of what happened, and they just said, we'll just pick the best player. So, again, Bowers being 12, like, we've talked about tight ends a lot the past couple of weeks, it feels like, and there's just so many good ones. And, like you said, I don't know where the volume's going to go, but Devontae Adams is going to command a bunch. And Matt already said Jacoby Myers had 101. So, again, it's a tough sell again on this offense for me, especially at the 12th overall tight end.
Chance, you taking Bowers in the 9th round, 10th round?
I mean, he is literally the last tight end that I would want to take of the top 12. Like, I look at Fantasy Pros and all the tight ends underneath him. Dallas Goedert, Dalton Schultz, Pat Freiermuth, Cole Kmet, Taysom Hill, Luke Musgrave, Hunter Henry. Like, I think he has more upside than all of those guys. He's going behind David Njoku and TJ Hawkinson and Jake Ferguson, who are all guys that I would rather have instead of him. I do think he is, they drafted him to be a weapon, and I think they're going to use him as a weapon. I feel like it always takes tight ends time to break out. It always does. Yes. And so I like his upside a lot, but I'm hoping I get a tight end before I have to make that choice on him.
Yeah. So, and let's be clear. So there's 2 things that I'll bring up. One, Bowers is only 21 years old. So it usually takes till age 25 for them to break out. Mm-hmm. I believe he'll break out sooner than that. And 2, remember, this is redraft. In Dynasty, we would have taken him a long time ago, right? So get Bowers on your Dynasty rosters. But as in redraft, I don't know. I think maybe as a tight end 2, he's kind of that tight end 2, maybe bottom tight end 1. But okay, 107, not a bad gamble, but I do agree with you, Chance. I think those other tight ends I'd rather have. Moving on, let's go to the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh and his Chargers, new head coach, bringing from Michigan, bringing in his we concept. We can do this. Mm-hmm. Bringing in these vanilla players. There's no me people on here, but Justin, what do you got? What do you know? Harbaugh and his new regime.
All right, the Chargers. This is like my AFC team. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I love the Chargers. I love Justin Herbert. So
you would like the Chargers.
I love Justin Herbert. So they're 18th in total offense, 13th in passing offense, 25th in rushing, 21st in scoring offense. So they'll use a heavy gap scheme, kind of similar to the Ravens, where they're just gonna be like, we got big guys, and we're just gonna beat you up over it. Just impose their will on teams. I think this will also make the transition easier for Joe Alt, who usually plays left tackle from Notre Dame, switching over to right tackle because Slater, who was their stud, is their left tackle. So Greg Roman comes over from Baltimore. I think he was out of the league for at least a year. So he was with Baltimore for like 4 years with Jim's brother, John. So their offenses were predominantly rushing offense. So they were 7th in attempts, 3rd in attempts, 1st in attempts, 1st in attempts, 1st in yards, 3rd in yards, 2nd in yards. And then their offensive-wise, so attempt-wise, they're 28th, then 9th, 32nd, 32nd. So he loves to run the ball. Like, Greg Roman wants to run the ball. And they will do a lot of play action stuff with Justin Herbert. I think me and Matt have talked about this when we were talking about the draft. They're not going to totally forget about Justin Herbert, so don't freak out about that. Their draft class from 2 years ago, they invested pretty heavy in O-line, so those guys need to kind of show up. And then the skill position is a wild card a little bit. And then they were 60% pass and then 40% run.
Yeah, so perfect. Let's jump right into Justin Herbert. So interesting. This will be an interesting year. His rookie year was phenomenal. Rough year last year, right? So currently he's ranked 15th overall as quarterback, and then 97th in the ADP. Chance, what are you doing with Justin Herbert?
Man, I'm drafting him. I would draft Justin
Oh,
Herbert.
let's go!
I will
Let's
draft
go,
Justin
Chance.
Herbert at this spot. I mean, it really wasn't that long ago that he was in that conversation of like, nah, he's a dude. He's a premier quarterback. He's going to be around the league. He's one of the quarterbacks that makes the AFC so tough. And there's just no way that you have a face of the franchise in Justin Herbert, who is big, tall, strong, athletic, and you expect a coach to come in and forget about him. There's no way that happens. Now, 100% they're going to run the ball. But I think that fear of what Harbaugh is going to do on the ground, what Greg Roman can do, I think it's going to draw boxes in, and it's really going to open up passing lanes for Justin Herbert. And I think that they're going to ground and pound it, and then he's going to take those shots and air it out. And I bet his air yards this year are going to be wild. I bet he just absolutely chucks that ball up. He's a great quarterback to get late. If I want to get a later quarterback and I want to spend all of my draft stuff early on my skill positions, and Justin Herbert's there, in those later rounds, I will pull that trigger all day long. I've been out on him at his price in the last couple of years. I'm in on where he's at now.
Yes. I love it.
Fair enough. Justin?
Oh, I love it. Chance get me pumped right now. So Justin Herbert. So let's all remember who Jim Harbaugh's quarterback was in San Francisco. Colin Kaepernick. We all hate Colin Kaepernick because he did some bad things at Boise State. But that adds to Justin Herbert's value. Like, let's not forget, Justin Herbert is a dude as an athlete. Like, talent-wise, like, forget everything else. Like, talent-wise, he's a top 5 quarterback. Like, he's probably the closest thing we do have to Josh Allen in this league. Kid is huge, and he runs really well. So I think, like Chance said, I'm going to take him at this value. Like, his floor is so low because I think they're going to run him a lot. Just because he can. Like, they're gonna save him a little bit, but I think there's going to be a lot more design runs this year with him.
I'm here for that.
Okay, so here's what I'll go with Justin Herbert. I don't mind it. I don't think he'll be a top 5 quarterback. He's not going to be top 5 this year in my mind. However, here's what I want you to understand. I'm going to ask you guys each a question. Who had the least amount of attempts in the NFL last year? What team?
The Chargers. Oh, the Ravens. I'm just guessing somebody related.
That's good.
Team related.
The
What
Bears.
we're talking about.
The Bears.
The least amount of attempts last year thrown by a team was the 49ers at 491.
Really?
Yep. For 4,577 yards. Okay. So Purdy. How many touchdowns did Purdy have last year? 33.
Yeah.
33 touchdowns. So I don't care that if he only throws 500 times. If he throws a bunch of touchdowns, I don't care. If he throws for close to 5,000 yards or 4,800 yards, he'll still do great. So the argument of him not being like, oh, they're not going to throw the ball, they're going to run it too much. I'm like, yeah, I don't buy that. He'll at least have 500 attempts. He's too talented of a quarterback to have that. Now, what worries me a little bit is the people around him, right? So, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But Herbert, you guys are 100% right. I don't mind drafting him at his level right there, especially in Superflex. I don't know that I want him as my starting quarterback, but he has a tremendous upside. So moving off of QB, going to the running back position where Harbaugh steals his brother's players, Edwards and Dobbins. Now, Justin, I'm going to start with you. Edwards is 41 ranked at 125 overall, and J.K. Dobbins is 49 ranked at 154 overall. Gary, do you want any part of this rushing attack for – well, let me add Vidal in there, who is 51 overall and 155. They're all together is what I'm getting at. Do you want any part of this rushing attack for the Chargers?
So as it pains me to say, like, I love J.K. Dobbins. Like, I have loved him so much when he's on the field. He's so fun to watch. Like, so good at Ohio State, but like I had to like go to the dark place and like just be like, I can't be on JK. I can't. He's burned me too many times. I think he tore his he tore his hamstring, right, or his Achilles last year.
Achilles.
But ACL, like. But I'm all in on Gus Edwards. I'm all in on the Gus bus. Like, I think he's gonna be really. I mean, he had 8 touchdowns last year. Like,
yeah.
J.K. Dobbins just gets hurt a lot, and it's like he's so talented, and it sucks because I don't think he's gonna have the career that I think he can. But man, Gus Edwards in this offense, like they're gonna feed him the ball. Like he could have 10 touchdowns. Like that's a realistic outcome. I think it's pretty easy.
Hey, Lineberry, I know it pains me to hear you be out on J.K. Dobbins, but let's say in Dynasty somebody threw you like a 2025 fourth for him. Is that enough to get him off your hands?
Maybe, I don't know.
I was trying to work a little. I'm trying to work a little.
We gotta figure out our first trade first.
Listen, I'm just trying to add to it. I'm just trying to add to it right here.
I got you.
I think you're right though. Gus Edwards, I think he could absolutely eat. What do you guys think of Kameni Vidal from Troy?
That's a Matt question. He loves him.
So he is the only one I want out of this backfield.
Oh, okay. Yes, okay. Matt loves the young.
He is. So he's 155. I'd rather have Vidal over Dobbins anyway, because you're talking what, 12, 13, 14, maybe even more. Super late pick, right? On any of those guys. I'll take a stab at Vidal. I like him. Go watch him run. Go watch some of his highlight tapes. The dude is incredibly low to the ground and fits that one cut running style that they have. The zone blocking. I like him. I think it'll be fun. I don't know. The only thing I don't know with Vidal is how much he catches the ball in the backfield, which would be kind of cool because there'll be some garbage stuff, but I like him. In Dynasty, that's all I want. In redraft, I don't really know if I want any of these guys, but maybe I'd take a stab at Vidal.
I love this because I still love J.K. Dobbins. I loved watching him run. He's the guy that I want. So I'm glad that there's three of us. It's appropriate for this backfield that there's 3 dudes that could be the dude, and you talk to 3 different fantasy guys, and they each want a different piece of it.
Yeah, and that's fair. And it may be just a full-blown committee, and we're all correct. So who knows? Moving on to wide receiver, Quentin Johnston, Lad McConkey, right, and Palmer. So Quentin Johnson is 70 ranked, 150 overall. McConkey 43, 70th overall in the ADP, and Palmer's 52 and 100. Chance, out of these 3, who do you want? Who do you don't want?
Listen, I'm a huge fan of Lad McConkey. I think he's awesome, but I'm coming around on QJ.
Oh no!
I'm coming around on him. I think that they drafted him to be their big downfield guy, and a couple other receivers. Hear me out. That struggled early on in their careers, and then figured it out, right? And I'm not saying he's going to figure it out in year 2. Right, this is maybe more of a dynasty thing, but in redraft, I don't know if I want Lad with where he's at, but I think I would sniff around at Quentin Johnston where he's at. Mike Williams, who just left the Chargers, came onto the team and he struggled his first couple of years. Devontae Adams, one of the best wide receivers in the league right now. His first 2 seasons with Green Bay in 2014 and 2015, he was bad. He was worse than Quentin Johnston his rookie season. So there's hope, right? There's hope for a big-bodied receiver who is really good down the field. I think if there's anyone who knows what Quentin Johnston can do, and Lineberry and I have talked about this, it's Harbaugh, right? Quentin Johnston destroyed Michigan in that playoff game in college 2 years ago. Harbaugh saw that. He saw it happen, and he knows what he has in Quentin Johnston. I think he's going to give him a chance.
Justin, how you want to answer to that?
So yeah, Chance hit a lot of my points. Like,
sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. No, you're good. That's what I want you to hit. So I just want to talk about how I think they're going to use him. So I think I was going to pick Lad as my bargain guy because I just think he's going to be the one. So this is how I think their offense is going to play out. So Josh Palmer is going to be their status quo X. So he's going to be their guy that goes down the field, just their speedster. Ladd's going to hang out in the slot because I don't think they're going to use Hayden Hurst a lot, and we'll get to that. I think he's just going to run a lot of stuff, own anywhere from 5 to 15. He's just going to own those zones. I think Quentin Johnson's going to be their Z. They're going to motion him a lot. They're going to screen him a lot. They're going to give him touches. The easiest touches, manufactured touches. He's a satellite player, whatever you want to call it. He's a get me the ball, Cordell Patterson type wide receiver where he is really good with the balls in his hands. Now, getting the ball into his hands seems like it's kind of tough because he just drops balls a lot. I think he will figure that out. I think, like Chance said, we've had a bunch of conversations about QJ. You're not going to get, in Dynasty at least, you're not going to get a good enough price for him to sell him off. So just sit on him for a year with John Harbaugh, who has had very successful wide receivers and has had success in the NFL. So I love Ladd. Like, he's a little pricey, but like I really think he's going to be the one.
I know we want to get to tight end, but there's not a lot to get to, so I'm just no offense, Hayden Hurst, but do you guys have any interest at all? We don't have him on here. Any interest in Brennan Rice?
So I was going to talk about that. I was actually going to bring that up. Yeah.
Good. Go get it, Matt.
Yeah. Because there's more to this than just Rice. So Quentin Johnson, Justin's 100% right. He is my get the ball in his hands, a little bubble, a little slant route, a little out route, let him work his magic. Forget him trying to go downfield, catch the ball because he can't do it. I don't see him doing it even in the next few years. That's just not his thing. He's not good at it. Doesn't extend his hands, wants to catch with the body. McConkey's that slant guy, possession guy, get the ball, quick routes, get it right. Palmer's the most veteran receiver on this team who probably lead the way early. So I do like Palmer. He's only 24 years old, so he's still young.
Really?
But he's young. He's young, but he's been injured, right? So, Chance, you hit right at. I'm not really sure where I want to go with this whole thing because there's a few other players that intrigue me a ton. Brendan Rice is one of them. He's got the pedigree. He looked really good at USC. Can he find his way in this mix? Harbaugh also drafted a wide receiver out of Michigan, Cornelius Johnson.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, wait a minute. Like, now I'm not sure. There's another kid, and I'm going to throw in pops just because my kid played with him. But Leon Johnson, second, 6'5", who is that Mike Williams role. The dude can run, and he's got big hands. He has a super, super big flyer, but I don't know. I really don't know if any of these wide receivers are going to be the guy. It might be a hodgepodge mismatch, whatever. I think Palmer leads the way, and McConkey and Johnson are in there, and we start seeing some sprinkles of other guys coming in and maybe certain packages. But it's tough. I don't mind it at all, but this wide receiver group is tough.
This wide receiver group is why you need to smash the follow button on this podcast and
100%.
Tune in, because we are going to be listening to this stuff. We're going to be bought in. Matt, what was the name of the last wide receiver you said that played with River?
Yeah, Leon Johnson III.
Leon Johnson III. Oh,
yep.
hell
6'5", runs like a 4'4", 4'3". He's just one of those guys. He was a D3 player that made his way to Oklahoma State, and now has found his way to the Chargers. So I got to put his plug in for him.
Oh, I love it. Plug that.
So anyway,
just like one point, like this room feels kind of like the Ravens, where you're probably going to be frustrated. Like, is it a Zay Flowers week? Is it Rashad Bateman week? Is it an Odell week? Like, you were just frustrated with those wide receivers.
Or they all get 4 catches for 30 yards, right? And then it's like, well, the running backs all get like 10 carries. You're like, what is going on? So we'll see. More to come with the Chargers for sure. The last thing kind of touch on here is tight ends. Guys, I really didn't know what to do with the tight ends because there's a few. Harbaugh is not a big tight end guy. He likes the blocking tight ends. Yeah, and he'll throw to him because we saw that with
Will Dissly.
That's who I think he's going to start is Dissly.
Yeah. He's got the Colston Loveland that he got to, the opportunity, who was an Idaho kid. Shout out to him as well. Mm-hmm. But, with Hayden Hurst, they got Will Dissly. They got Donald Parham, who's like 6'8".
Dude, Parham's the guy.
I don't know what they're going to do with them, but Parham seems to be that receiving guy. So I don't know. So I'm probably staying away from all tight ends with the Chargers because I just don't know. Hurst here is 38 ranked overall in 255. I just don't want any business with the tight ends. How about you guys?
Nope.
I'm ready to go to the next team. It's better to talk about the tight ends for the Chargers.
That's right. We're punching it right now. Hey, let's
Yeah,
get over the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm excited to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs because I think there's some interesting stuff here. But Justin, Kansas City Chiefs, we know who they are, but what do you got?
This is Chance's favorite team, baby.
Oh God, I hate the Chiefs. I hate them.
All right. 9th in total offense, 6th in passing, 19th in rushing offense, 15th in scoring offense, which seems pretty low with the Patrick Mahomes era. One thing that I found with my research was that I thought was just crazy. Andy Reid runs 80% of his plays out of shotgun, which is crazy to me. That is absurd. So, like, of course, you're going to see inside zone a lot. They're breaking in a new left tackle, which scares me a little bit. I don't think you guys can name it. Again, like Chance said, like I look at O-line a lot. They drafted Kingsley out of BYU. He could see some time at right tackle, then move Jawan Taylor over to the left tackle. Be kind of interesting. Other sport spots at O-line, though, are very, very good. Probably, if you took away that left tackle spot, they might be the best O-line in the league. Will be fun to see how these skill guys shake out. And then their tight end room is one of my favorites in the whole league. Like, they have a really fun tight end group.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump right into the Patty Mahomes, right? So he's ranked number 3rd overall, the 33 ADP. I think we'd all take him there at 33. I've actually seen him going around 4, so he's currently going behind Hurts and Josh Allen. Yeah, sorry, thank you. So I think he could regain that top spot this year. We'll see. I don't know. Hurts is going to be tough in my opinion, but thoughts on Patty Mahomes? Chance to start with you.
Oh, here we go.
Listen,
I'm one for a chance to say anything positive during this segment.
Patrick Mahomes is a great player. He's such a stud. It's so hard when you love somebody so much. It's so hard to say good things about them. Here's my one thing. Patrick Mahomes obviously slings the rock. He's an outstanding player. I think at 3, honestly, it's just too rich for me. Mahomes has never had that, and he's always really sneaky on the ground. He always ends up with more rushing yards than you think he would because he's such a proficient pocket passer. Well, and a proficient out-of-pocket passer, whatever. But I just think that his lack of rushing upside, to me, I would rather take a guy a little lower than that who has more rushing upside than Patrick Mahomes. Like, I'm going to go as far down looking at this as like, I'd give me Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's rushing upside is huge, and I don't have to spend a 3rd-round pick on it. Where I understand you're going to get a lot of those touchdowns on the ground through Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. But yeah, for me, the only reason why I'm typically a pass on Patrick Mahomes is his ADP is too high for me without that rushing upside.
Justin?
I agree with everything Chad said. He's definitely a name guy, like Austin Eckler. Like he is the best quarterback I have ever seen play football. Like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But for fantasy, he only threw for 4,100 yards, and he only had 27 touchdowns. Like, that's not going to cut it. And he runs for about 300 yards a year. Again, like Chance says, there's just so many bargains at quarterback that you can take, like Stafford or Goff. Like, you're going to get kind of similar production at a way lower cost. So, like the 3rd quarterback, yeah, that's super rich for me. But he is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen play football.
Wow.
So here's my cutoff. I don't want him in round 3, but if he falls to round 4, I'll take him in round 4. So Justin just talked about he only threw for 4,000 yards last year. The previous 3 years was 4,700, 4,800, and 5,200. Touchdowns were 38, 38, 41, and last year he threw 27. The receivers were awful last year, right? The only thing he had was Travis Kelce. There wasn't much there. So the reason why I like him is because I believe they made the receiving core better. I'm not saying Rashid Rice is going to do anything. We'll talk about that in a minute, or even Xavier Worthy. But I really, really like Hollywood Brown. And if I can stack them in the right spot, I think Hollywood Brown has the potential to be a number 1 wide receiver in the top 12. So, but we'll see. I don't know, but I really, really like it. Those bargains. I would take him if he falls to 4. 3 is a little rich for me, but round 4 I'll do easy. I like it. So we'll see what happens. Let's go to running backs. Pacheco is ranked 13 overall and ADP is 37. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which is back up 63 and 203, has been disappointing the last couple of years. But let's start with Pacheco. Justin, you like Pacheco? What are you doing with Pacheco?
Oh, yeah. I love Pacheco. So me and Chance, again, we were talking on the farm this when we were doing water, and he's like, what are the main backfields that just have a guy, that just have one dude that can be that guy that is going to get probably 80-20 split, 85-15. And this is one of the backfields. Pacheco will outsnap Clyde Edwards-Helaire by a ton of snaps. It will not be close. This is a good offense, like I said, with a very good offensive line. Like, at round 4 with Pacheco, like, I'm taking that all day. If you can go running back, wide receiver, or get one of those tight ends or quarterbacks that you like in between round 2 and 3, and get Pacheco in the 4th, oof, your team's going to be humming.
Yeah, I mean, like, first of all, shout out Isaiah Pacheco, Rutgers grad, go Scarlet Knights. But, like, he's just one of those guys where in fantasy football, it's hard to trust a running back, and it's harder to trust an undrafted guy. And Isaiah Pacheco has really solidified his place in this offense. He's been reliable when they need him to be reliable. He was reliable in the playoffs. They trust him. And he has, as much as I hate everything about the Chiefs, he's my favorite runner to watch run the ball, man. I love his little, like, the way he runs the ball.
Trying to kill the ground. Trying to
kill the ground, man. Love it. But I would agree. I think he's just going to get a ton of volume. And more than anything, the Chiefs are going to be in a position to score the ball as much as any team in the league. So give me a running back that's going to be in the red zone as often as Isaiah Pacheco is going to be. The real question is why Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still on Lineberry's dynasty team.
You never know.
Yeah, I think you do.
All right. So, gosh, I feel like I'm the Debbie Downer on this one. So I'm not as big on Pacheco as you guys may be. I know he's 13 overall, 37. That's round 4 territory. I can get better value elsewhere. I know the offense was a little bit less last year. He wasn't a 1,000-yard guy. He did have 200 totes. He doesn't catch the ball a ton out of the backfield, but I guess he caught a couple touchdowns, but 7 rushing touchdowns. I would rather have push back to Pacheco is going in that, 40 or 30, 37 range. Give me like maybe like Ramondre Steven or Zamir White a little bit later.
I was going to ask you, Matt. I say go in division, Isaiah Pacheco or Zamir White.
I think I want White, right?
Isaiah Pacheco or Gus Edwards.
Oh, Pacheco. I don't want anything to do with Gus Edwards.
That's right. You're out on it. That's what you're out on.
Could you say, what about Pacheco and Joe Mixon, right? Mm-hmm. Thinking those. I'd probably take Pacheco there, but I think there's some value later that I like a little bit better. Not saying you guys are both right. He's a very good player, and I love watching the dude run. He is just like, he's angry, and wants to, like, oh, look at that 6'4", 260-pound linebacker. I'm going to run through him, and it's fun to watch. But I think there's better value if he falls a little bit later. I'll take him. He'd been banged up a little bit. I think last year might have been his first healthy year. Was he healthy all last year? I can't remember. I'll tell you. Yeah, I think he played all games last year. So, but you're not wrong with going with him. But I'm gonna hold back a little bit on the Pacheco bandwagon. I think they're gonna throw the ball way more often than what they did last year. So, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we talked about. We're no interest. So this is the group that I wanted to talk about. I alluded to a little bit the wide receivers. So you have their rankings and where their ADP is. So Hollywood Brown's ranked 32, 49 over in the ADP. Rashee Rice is 40, 67 in his ADP, and Xavier Worthy, the rookie, is 37 and ADP is 62. Are you touching any of these wide receivers? What's your thoughts on this? Chance, I'm gonna start with you because I know how much you love the Chiefs.
Yeah. Listen, the Chiefs can't draft good wide receivers. So they had to go out and get a good one in Marquise Brown, right? So like, I think I would agree with you, Matt. Like, I'm all in on Marquise Brown. I think he's me a stud. I worked real hard last year to try to get him on my dynasty team, and then and that was when he was with the Cardinals. And when he went to the Chiefs, I was pumped. I did leverage him to get Marvin Harrison Jr. in dynasty, which I thought was an upgrade. But I still am like, I think he's going to be a great addition. I think he's going to be Patty Mahomes' second best friend behind Kelsey. The Rashee Rice stuff, I just don't know. I wouldn't be mad drafting him if he were to fall a little bit, just for what he could be at the end of the season. We don't have any updates on what his penalty or punishment with the league is, do we?
Not at this point. I just know that Texas doesn't mess around. Mm-hmm. Their legal system in Texas, it feels like they're going to make an example out of him. But that's my thoughts on him. I will have zero absolutely negative shares of Rashee Rice. Even in Dynasty, I don't. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I think that's great if he does, but I don't want anything to do with him.
I'll save Xavier Worthy for his biggest fan.
There you go. Exactly.
I knew we were all going to pick different guys here because Chance is a Marquise Brown guy, and he's talked to me a million times about him. Xavier Worthy, like he won me over. Like when I watched this film and I said, oh, this guy's different. Like you think of like tiny guys, it's just speedsters. I thought he was Brian Thomas when I was watching this film.
Oh my gosh.
He's gonna run a slant and a go. And I'm just like, I watched his game against Alabama. Holy crap. He was cooking Alabama. Like, they took him in the first. Like, Chance is very right. The Chiefs don't know how to draft wide receivers. But they also have the best quarterback in the league. So I'm going to bet a little bit on Patrick Mahomes. Hopefully turning Xavier Worthy into Tyreek 2.0. That is my hope.
Yeah.
They said they're going to throw the ball deeper. Like, they're gonna take more shots. I don't think Rashee Rice is, like, I've been burned so many times by guys that are going to be out for this many weeks. Just avoid them. Don't count on them. They're a wasted spot on your roster. Do not draft him. He will get suspended. Marquise Brown, I think, like Matt said with the Chargers, I think he'll lead the way for the first 4 to 6 weeks. And then I think Xavier Worthy will take off.
All right, so I'm going to give you a list of just some names here. Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross, Mecole Hardman. Do I need to keep going? You go down. What Andy Reid's looking for is a nest. He's looking for the next Deshaun Jackson, right? Because that dude could just flat out fly. He could ball. Maybe Xavier Worthy's that guy, but he's missed so far. His batting average is horrible. Part of me thinks Xavier Worthy will just be a kick return guy with the new kickoff rules and with that speed and just try to get as many yards as possible to shorten the field. I don't know. I'm not sold on him. I don't want either one of these wide receivers in redraft. Maybe dynasty with Worthy, but Marquise Brown is my guy. I really do think he could be a top 12 wide receiver this year. But that's just my thoughts.
Nice.
Kelsey, I think we know what Kelsey is. So he has been just balled out. Even we've been so spoiled with that guy. We were complaining last year because let me look at some stats real quick. We were complaining like, oh man, he really wasn't that good last year. I was like, he still did all right. He had 121 targets, 93 receptions for nearly 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's pretty good for an average tight end. We were just used to the 10 and 12 touchdowns and 1,300 yards, right? We got spoiled. But my question here is for you two. He is number 2 in 35 overall, so that puts him close to round 3. Do you want to draft Kelsey at number 2 tight end? Justin? All right, Chance, you go. You're ready.
Chance, ready to talk about the Chiefs. Taylor Swift's boyfriend, baby.
Oh, yeah, T Swift's boyfriend. Only thing he's got going on for him. Swifty for life, baby. No, I think that we've talked about this on our last pod, that tight end is really coming around. As a position, it's coming around. There are 12 to 15 guys that I would look at that I'd say I wouldn't be mad to have them on my team, and that applies to Travis Kelsey. Now, who's tight end 1 right now?
It's got to be Laporta.
It's got to be Laporta, right? Yeah, it's Laporta. I would take Laporta that high. Drew's high. I'd take high. Travis Kelsey, to me, I feel like with the tight ends that they have and the usage that he had last year, I just think they're trying to save him for moments that matter, because in moments that matter, he's the guy. I mean, he's always been the guy when it matters. And I think they're going to try to save him for that a little bit. So for me, I think that's going to mean a drop in his production. And I don't think you're going to get tight end 2 return on him. I just don't think you're going to get that return.
Justin?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's too many good tight ends to take him that early, where you could probably get a wide receiver, a running back as high. I just he's 35 years old this year. That's what he's going to be. What's it going to fall off? I think that's a big thing. I would love a Dalton Kincaid instead of him a little bit later. Like Kyle Pitts, you guys all know how I feel about him. There's just a lot of good tight ends that I would take later instead of him. I do want to talk a little bit about his backup tight ends, just real quick. So Noah Gray, who's always been decent, but I love Jared Wiley coming out of TCU. I think he is such a fun dynasty pickup. I don't think he'll play a ton this year, but man, he's got a lot of similarities with Travis Kelce, and he was really good with TCU. I think it wasn't during the national championship run. Oh wait, yeah, it was during the national championship run 2 years ago. He just balled out.
So I think, Justin, you pretty much stated everything I was going to say, other than I think on running plays, I don't know that you're going to see Kelce in there and they're going to use Wiley more. I think they'll put him in there for that, so we don't have to beat up Kelce, right? I certainly agree. I would rather have Kincaid or McBride. I'm going to go out on a limb. This is my bold prediction. I think Kelce finishes as the number 5 tight end. That is my prediction. It might 5 or less, or 5 or greater. So 5, 6, 7. I think he falls out of that. I think this is the year that we see a significant fall off with him, and he'll do well. Don't get me wrong. That's still good tight end production, being tight end 6, but just not in the 3rd round. I'm going to pass on him. But this will be the year he falls off. My bold prediction. I don't even feel really that bold, to be honest. All right, moving on to Chance as team. We're saving the best for last. And I don't even think I'm going to say anything. I'm just going to let Chance just run this whole Denver Broncos. But
I just can't believe you have Jared Stidham as the quarterback and not Bo Nix.
Well, I told you we went off of what I'm not even sure Stidham's going to. I don't even know if Bo Nix is going to be at. Let's start off with Justin. What do you got, man? What are your thoughts here?
All right, the Broncos, 26th in total offense, 24th in passing, 18th in rushing, 19th in scoring offense. So Sean Payton-wise, I had to look up his stuff. He is my sworn enemy. I hate Sean Payton. But here's some good things. He always has, top 5 lowest sack percentage. So that means they get the ball out quick. They have good O-line play, good scheme. They always have a very high completion percentage. I think Chance talked to me about this one day, but that's probably due to their quick game. Having Drew Brees. They're not so much a vertical passing offense. They are a horizontal passing offense, meaning they try to just get the ball out very quick. I think that fits what Bo Nix does, kind of get the ball out, let those playmakers do what they need to do. O-line wise, not terrible. I like Garrett Bowles a lot. He had a really good year 2 years ago and then a really bad year last year. It feels like their biggest question mark is center. I don't know what they're going to do there. And then it'll be interesting to see how this running group shakes out. I'm a Javonte truther, and all the stuff I hear about him, I go to Chance and I'm like, is this true? Because I love Javonte Williams.
So let me start with this. I'm going to start with, and Chance alluded to it with Stidham. What? So remember what I talked about in the very beginning. This is kind of what ESPN has as projected. So, but if you go look off of the rankings, Bo Nix is up there. Let me start off with this quarterback room. I don't know that we know who's going to be starting right now. So give it some grace in here. It could be any of them. It could be Bo Nix. I actually got a funny feeling it might be Zach Wilson.
Oh, yes!
No
the
way.
Zach Wilson reference. Let's go!
The only reason, because he's probably the most experienced back there. And remember, he was a number 2 overall pick. So we'll see. I could be completely wrong. It's just a funny thought. But Chance, I'm going to start with you, kind of what your thoughts on that quarterback position are, and just the battle in there, where you think will happen.
No, I think just, I listen to a ton of Broncos stuff. I follow all their beat reporters on Twitter, on X. And I really think that Sean Payton wants Bo Nix to be his guy. Sean Payton people are like, well, Bo Nix fell to him. They just took what they had. That's fine. But I think Sean Payton likes what he sees out of Bo Nix, a starter who's had his 63 games he started in college. He's incredibly accurate. He's everything that Sean Payton wants. And I think that they're going to be really happy with that quarterback battle. But even if Stidham starts the season, I think Nix is going to take the reins sooner rather than later because they have to see what they have in him. I think Stidham's going to be a great backup like he has always been. There's a reason Jared Stidham has been a perennial backup on 3 different teams. So that's right. With that said, I'm not drafting either of them for quarterback. I'm not. I'll pick them up off a waiver later in the season because I'm a homer. Absolutely. But I'm not going to draft any of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think the only thing is Bo Nix in Dynasty is probably the draft pick here. But Justin, your thoughts on this quarterback situation?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I would touch any of these guys at quarterback in a redraft. Bo Nix is interesting. The Zach Wilson stuff I just feel like it's hype to get people up in arms. I don't think he's going to start. I think he's really talented, but I think the Jets ruined him. So,
fun fact here: Bo Nix is actually 6 months older than Zach Wilson. So kind of a fun fact. Bo Nix was in college for a long time, but running backs. This is an interesting room. So Javonte Williams, 26th RB coming out, 84 ADP. Austin Estime, 64 and 200, and P Ryan 70 and 210. So I'm going to go right back to you, Chance, here. Tell us about this running back room, and do you want any piece of it?
Well, so like Lineberry said, I've been a huge Javonte truther for a long time. I think he's a really good running back. I think it'll be really interesting to see what the camp battle looks like. My thought is that Samaje Perine doesn't make this roster, and it's Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, and then either Estime or Perine. And they have the draft capital into Estime, but Perine has the experience. I think that, during training camp or during mini camp, Jaleel McLaughlin looked really good. He's an undrafted guy, and he was really explosive last year. But once you get the pads on, it'll be interesting to see if Javonte gets a little bit more trust in that knee injury that he was coming off of. Remember, last summer, nobody expected him to start the season because he was coming off of a devastating knee injury. And he started the season to the surprise of everyone, and then still struggled with coming back from those injuries. So it'll be really interesting to see how he does 2 years removed. And Sean Payton loves to throw to his backs. He loves to throw to his backfield. So whoever ends up being the leader in this backfield in PPR, I think they're gonna be of real value for where they're being drafted right now.
Justin?
So I love Javonte. I'm real scared that I put some bad juju on him and he's going to be J.K. Dobbins 2.0. It scares me.
Tough.
Just a really talented person. Chance, there's one more running back, right? That's a rookie.
Yep. Blake Watson.
And they've gassed him up quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Blake Watson is a running back out of Memphis, converted wide receiver, like every Memphis running back. And he's gotten a ton of hype, but it's going to be really interesting to see if they carry 3 or 4 running backs onto this roster, especially because Sean Payton's always been a tight end guy. They have a tight end in Michael Burton that they're going to keep on the roster. So I just don't know if you keep 4 running backs, or if one of them ends up, maybe they cut P Ryan and he ends up on the Cowboys, or he ends up somewhere else, or yeah. I think Javonte makes the roster. All of that fluff stuff of him maybe being cut, I don't see any stock in that rumor.
No, it doesn't make sense. He's a second-round pick, which they don't make a lot of money. I don't think P Ryan makes this roster because I think Estime is his replacement. I love Javonte. At 84, it's not terrible value. I don't think. He was just so good as a rookie year. I think people forget. And their O-line, I think, is a little underrated. Garrett Bowles was really good 2 years ago. Mike McGlinchey is solid as heck.
Quinn Miners might be the best guard in football.
Very good. The only guy that I didn't recognize, like Ben Powers has always been decent, is their center. I don't know who that is.
So their center was Bo Nix's center last year at Oregon. I can't think of his name.
Is it Alex Forsyth?
It is Forsyth. It's
okay,
Alex
so
Forsyth.
He's listed as third on their depth chart in ESPN, as Matt has alluded to. But I like Javonte at the value. I don't really like anybody else.
So here's my take on this. I like Javonte, but I think he's done. I don't know that he ever gets back to where he was. That knee injury was pretty devastating. I know, pretty devastating. We'll see, and I could be completely wrong. Maybe he regains form. I just don't know that I see it. It wasn't a normal knee injury. There was a lot in there, but maybe. Like, I agree with you guys. Samaje Perine is probably out. As much as I like him, he'll probably end up on a different team, and they just kind of go with youth. McLaughlin's only 187 pounds, so he's not real big. He's going to be he's not real big. He's probably your third down guy a little bit, but I love Audric. I love Audric Estime, 5'11", 220 something. He's not as talented, but I'm looking for, you guys alluded to this, I'm looking for the Thunder Lightning combo. I am looking for that Reggie Bush and
Mark Ingram.
Ingram. I thought
you were going to say Lenzo White. Go back to
you. No, not the far. Ingram. I'm looking for that combo because that's where Sean White had, right? I think that's kind of what he wants. He wants that running back.
Payton wants that. Yeah,
Sean Payton.
Yeah, smash and dash.
If Javonte is not that guy, it'll be Audric Estime, and McLaughlin in my mind will be that third down back. That's what I have in my head. I might be completely wrong and way off on this, but to your delight, Chance, I think there's a lot to work with in this running back room. There's a lot of talent.
It's the most talented. It's the most talented running back room we've had there in a long time.
So it looks good. Now going on drafting them, I'm probably not touching anybody out of here. It's too hard for me. The whole offense is kind of rough, but I could be wrong for sure. But all right, moving on. Wide receiver, Sutton, Reynolds, and Mims is who we have on the board here. Sutton, 49 overall, 88 ADP. Josh Reynolds is the new acquired, right? Is it Reynolds?
Yep.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds kind of coming over from, was it Detroit, I believe? 99 ADP, or 99 ranked and 241. And then the second-year player, Mims, 80 and 179 ADP. Let's Chance, go right back to you. What do you like? There's a lot of rumors with Sutton wanting to get out of there, but what's your thoughts on this wide receiver room, and what do you like, what you don't like?
Yeah, Sutton still wants to get a contract extension. That's totally fine. I think surprisingly, he had double-digit touchdowns last year from Russell Wilson. Like, he was not a bad wide receiver, and he made like 4 of the top 10 most impressive catches of the season last year. Like, he was absolutely killing it. He's really that guy. I'll be interested to see what Marvin Mims is, if he's going to be a kickoff return specialist with the new kickoff rules or whatnot. 2 guys that you don't have on here that I'm also interested in would be Franklin, who the Broncos drafted, who played with Bo Nix, and then also Patrick.
Tim,
thank you. I was like, Josh, Steve, some real boring name.
He's coming off an ACL tear, right?
Tim Patrick. Yeah, again.
Again.
And Tim Patrick, he gets hurt. He just gets hurt. But when he's on the field, he's super reliable. And those are guys that aren't going to get drafted, that are going to be on your waiver wire, that are worth, to me, a hold for that first week to see, hey, are they do they have a role in this offense? And if they don't, I'm going to cut them for the new hotness after the first week. But at 88, I think Cortland Sutton's still the wide receiver 1 there. I think he's going to be there, and he's going to be that deep threat for Bo Nix / Jared Stidham, however they want to see it going forward.
Justin?
Yeah, I've been a Marvin Mims guy. I think he will end up being the one. I think they should get off of Sutton. Like, that's just me, like, trying to get some value for him. Tim Patrick, like Chance said, is really good when he's on the field, and I think they're going to honestly try to give Troy Franklin as many looks as possible.
No, I agree. I really do, and you're right. I don't have him on here. I wish they would move off Sutton as well. Interestingly enough, he had 10 touchdowns on 90 targets. That's just crazy to me.
That's ridiculous.
It's nuts. I would love to move Franklin into that. Franklin's what 6'3", move him into that Sutton role, and then have Mims as your burner.
All legs.
All legs. Let him go. But the problem is I run into with the wide receivers is the quarterbacks make wide receivers, and I'm just not sure what we got yet. Probably, could I get behind Franklin super late or Mims super late? Yeah, but I really don't want to touch Sutton or Reynolds or anything like that. But fun stuff. Tight ends. This is another tough one because I really don't know who's gonna be it. And Chance is kind of enlightening on this before the show, but they have Troutman, Dulcich, and is it the rookie Kroll? Is he rookie?
He's not a rookie. He's
okay.
He's a fourth-year player. Lucas Kroll.
Fourth year. Yeah, I didn't even know who it was, which is crazy. But tell us your thoughts here. Dulcich seems to be kind of the leading the way with 36 overall, 220 in the ADP. But again, I don't know. You tell us, Chance. Dulcich seems like they like their tight ends.
Dulcich is a guy who, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they went out and found more tight end help. Come this, like they just go sign a guy. Troutman's a great blocking tight end, and he came over from New Orleans. He has a history with Sean Payton. Dulcich has been dealing with a hamstring injury since college, and he just continues to deal with it. Like he's been dealing with hamstrings. He came out into minicamp, suited up, ran a little bit, and then was immediately off the field dealing with that injury again. Lucas Kroll is the tight end that they have been having had run with their ones for most of minicamp, and he's just getting a lot of hype from beat reporters that he's the dude. Let's see, what's his size?
He's 6'6", 260, and it's his only second year.
Second year. Okay.
He's 25 years old.
Yeah, he's a big dude, man. He's a beast. He crushed the RAS score, the relative athletic score in the combine. He's an athletic freak. So it'll be interesting to see if he's worth a sniff late. He might be a guy you pick up off of waivers that ends up providing tight end value, but I don't know.
Yeah. Justin, you want any of this tight end mess?
No, just like some recency stuff. Like when we were talking about the AFC South, like Greg Dulcich is like, I was so excited for him, but he feels like Chig. Like, I feel like he had such a good year, and then like nothing happened. Like he's not super big. Like he's 6'4". He's like an inch taller than Chig and about 8 pounds heavier. That's 6'4", 245. And like, I felt that they gassed him up so much, I think a year or two ago. And I was like, man, this guy's going to be a stud. And just nothing happened. So like, I'm out of the tight end room. So.
And don't forget about Troutman is there as well, who came over with Sean Payton. He's a 6'5" guy, 253, 27 years old. Been in the league a little bit since 2020, but he's had some decent seasons, if that makes sense. A couple 100 yards there, few touchdowns, probably nothing fancy relevant, but we'll see what this tight end. This whole team's going to be interesting to watch. I think Chance is like, I just got to figure out what's going on. It is tough.
Lot of potential, but as far as for your fantasy team, I don't think any of that potential is what you're going to want to bank on. Now, I'm going to draft my obligatory Broncos player at some point in all of my drafts because I'm contractually obligated as a fan. Yep. Not all of my fantasy assets can be Bijan or Kyle Pitts or Drake London, so I don't have a whole team full of them.
Denver's best player is on their defense, and he's really, really good at football. And I wish they would have traded to the Falcons, but it didn't happen. So
it didn't happen. You and your Falcons. That's right. I'd say the same thing about my Bears. Hey, well, that's going to wrap it up for today. We got tons more content coming. We're going to do more breakdown. We're going to start getting into some draft strategies coming up soon and some rankings for you, who we like. We're just trying to do a division breakdown of players. What are we going to see? What are our thoughts on these guys that are starting in our fantasy worlds and our fantasy manager minds? Final thoughts is just kind of going around the table here before we shove off for the night. Chance, start with you about this division.
Listen, I think this is a division that, like, it's tough to decide what wide receivers are going to do. None of the teams have stud wide receivers. Very few of the teams have like a stud running back. But I think there's potential on all 4 of these teams at all of those positions. And late in drafts, I think these are 4 teams that I would take dart throws at, because a running back, a wide receiver is going to pop from one of these, from this division. And you just got to take those dart throws on them.
Justin?
I'm really excited to watch the Chargers offense. I think they're just going to be a fun offense to watch, especially with Harbaugh coming in to see what his stamp is on that team. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only fantasy viable guys for me are coming out of the Kansas City, right? Those are ones you're going to be studs and trying to get a piece of those where you can. It'll be interesting to see what the Broncos are going to be, what the Raiders are going to be, and the Chargers. This is the Chiefs' division to lose, and then it's up in the air for the other three, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, I agree. Don't reach for your players if you can. Go out and get them when there's value. We talked about our bargain bags. If there's a guy that you think you need to get now because he's not going to fall to you next round, then go ahead and pick him up. But this division will be fun to watch, and not a lot of fantasy players, like you said, but it'll be definitely fun to watch. Well, gentlemen, that is the wrap for today. Where we go? About an hour and 25 minutes. I think we just keep getting longer and longer.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so much fun. It's just
Chet's talking about the Broncos too much.
Sorry, guys. My bad. It's my bad this time.
Well, we're going to wrap it up for this evening on this Tuesday, July 2nd. It's been a lot of fun. We'll be back Saturday, Sunday, somewhere in there with another divisional breakdown. I think we're moving on to the NFC. Is that correct?
We're going to do Matt's division next.
It'll be
right.
just as long next time then.
Probably it'll be 100 hour and 20 minutes. So, all right, everyone, thanks for joining with us.
Right.
Remember to hit that like button, subscribe to us. We want you to win your leagues. It's all about the bragging rights for us. And from here on out, we are out of here, and see you on Sunday.